Is Yellowstone over after 1923 Season 2? 1923 Season 2 will be the end of the Yellowstone prequel. And here's what it means for Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone franchise. Premiering February 23 on Paramount+, 1923 Season 2 continues the saga of Jacob Dutton, Harrison Ford, and Cara Dutton, Helen Mirren, defending their Montana ranch from adversaries keen on taking their land. Meanwhile, Spencer Dutton, Brandon Sklinner, hurries home from Africa to help his family wage war, despite being separated from his new English bride, Alexandra Julia Schlapfer. Yellowstone, Taylor Sheridan's present-day set neo-western, starring Kevin Costner as John Dutton IE, became one of the biggest shows on television throughout its 5 seasons on the Paramount Network. Yellowstone's success spawned a franchise detailing the history of the Dutton clan in Montana, starting with the prequel 1883, which streamed on Paramount Plus for 1 season. 1923 picks up the Dutton story 40 years later. Yellowstone also sparked a growing franchise of TV shows on Paramount Plus executive, produced by Taylor Sheridan, including Mayor of Kingstown, Tulsa King, and Landman. 1923 Season 2 is also the final season of Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren's Yellowstone prequel. 1923 was designed by Taylor Sheridan to run for 2 seasons of 8 episodes each. After 1923 Season 1's successful December 2022 premiere, Paramount Plus renewed 1923 for Season 2 on February 2023, with the actors returning to wrap up this chapter of the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch in Montana. 1923 Season 2 concludes the second chapter of the Duttons' family timeline, but the Yellowstone saga is far from over. Yellowstone is growing beyond the Duttons' history, while continuing the story of some of Yellowstone's main characters, like Beth Dutton, Kelly Riley, and Rip Wheeler, Cole Hauser. Yellowstone is a cornerstone of Taylor Sheridan's expansive TV empire, and a major IP Paramount is keen to continue after the end of the original Yellowstone TV series. Yellowstone aired its final episode with the Season 5 finale on December 15, 2024. Yellowstone Season 5 was planned to be split into 2 parts, with Yellowstone Season 5's first 8 episodes airing on Paramount Network from November 13, 2022 to January 1, 2023. However, this production schedule clashed with series star Kevin Costner's plans to direct his own Western movie saga, Horizon, an American saga. Costner ultimately chose not to return to film the second half of Yellowstone Season 5. After Kevin Costner exited Yellowstone, Paramount and Taylor Sheridan made the decision to kill off Costner's John Dutton character. The remaining 6 episodes of Yellowstone Season 5 became about his children, Beth and Case Dutton, Luke Grimes, coping with John's death, and deciding the future of the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. Yellowstone Season 5 finale is effectively the end of the main series. However, Yellowstone's story isn't over. Even with the original Yellowstone series now concluded, followed by 1923 after Season 2, Yellowstone has 4 spin-offs in various stages of development. Before Yellowstone wraps Season 5, Paramount announced a spin-off about Beth Dutton and Rip Wheeler. Yellowstone Season 5's finale set up what's next for Beth and Rip after they moved on from the now sold and defunct Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. Currently in production, The Madison, starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Matthew Fox, is a present-day set Yellowstone spin-off about a New York City couple moving to Montana. The Madison is the next series to expect from the Yellowstone saga. Another Dutton prequel, 1944, was greenlit by Paramount as well. Taylor Sheridan is also developing a spin-off about the 6666 Ranch scene in Yellowstone, which could star Jefferson White, who played Jimmy in Yellowstone. Even after 1923 Season 2 ends, there is plenty more Yellowstone on the horizon. There's a chill that settles over the Montana plains, not from the snowfall, but from uncertainty. The Dutton name has weathered blizzards, betrayals, and bloodshed for over a century on screen. But now, as the dust settles after 1923, the question lingers like smoke from a dying fire. Is Yellowstone truly over? Not just the show, but the saga, the soul, the storm. When 1923 aired, it felt like the thunderous heartbeat of the Dutton family had been sliced open and offered for all to witness. We saw Jacob Dutton, played with weather-worn grit by Harrison Ford, take up the mantle of protector. Kara, portrayed by the legendary Helen Mirren, stood as the silent steel behind him. And in every scene, every sacrifice, it felt like we were being pulled deeper into the marrow of what it means to be a Dutton. Land, legacy, loss. And yet, now there's silence. Fans wonder, is 1923 the final thread in Taylor Sheridan's ambitious Yellowstone tapestry? Or is it simply another haunting stanza in an epic ballad still being sung under the stars? To answer this, we have to look beyond the timeline. Taylor Sheridan didn't just create a Western. He forged a mythology, an American odyssey bound in barbed wire and blood oaths. From the moment John Dutton, Kevin Costner, rode onto our screens in Yellowstone Season 1, we were pulled into something ancient yet modern, Shakespearean yet feral. The fight for the ranch wasn't just about property, it was about identity. And Sheridan, for all this stoicism, is too much of a poet to let that identity die with a prequel. But even as 1923 wraps its tale in dust and gunpowder, it doesn't end. It pauses. It lingers. Think about the loose threads. Spencer Dutton, lost in trauma and distance, inches his way toward home. Alexandra, fierce and elegant, is pulled into the whirlwind of Dutton fate. Banner Creighton is still out for blood, and the echo of mining tycoons and railroad barons still rings ominously in the background. Justice was not served, only delayed. You don't just walk away from that kind of unfinished war. So maybe Yellowstone as we knew it, anchored by Kevin Costner's John Dutton, is approaching its twilight. Maybe the contemporary series will conclude in fire and tears, as rumors swirl of Costner's departure and fractured creative paths. But if 1923 taught us anything, it's that the Dutton saga doesn't hinge on one generation. It's a curse that passes through blood, like a story tattooed into bone. If Sheridan's storytelling philosophy holds, where pain is inheritance and land is religion, then 1923 is merely a stepping stone. We've already seen 1883 lay the foundation. James and Margaret Dutton carved their family out of tragedy, with Elsa's voice still haunting the prairie winds. 1923 picked up the torch, painting the cost of survival in sepia tones and shotgun smoke. And still, there's more. There has to be. What happens to Spencer and Alex? Does the family keep the ranch or lose it to the industrialists? Who bridges the gap between Jacob and John? There are years, decades, of stories we haven't seen. The Dutton family tree isn't a timeline. It's a saga riddled with thorns and unsung heroes. And let's not forget what the Yellowstone franchise has become, a universe. Much like Marvel has its multiverse, Yellowstone has its Montana-verse. The spin-offs aren't distractions. They're lenses. Each one focuses on a new branch of the same twisted tree. From the Texas Rangers of Lawman, Bass Reeves to the upcoming 6666 Ranch series, Sheridan's empire is expanding outward, not shrinking. But what makes 1923 feel like an inflection point is its gravitas. Unlike 1883, which felt like a frontier hymn, 1923 is a war cry. It juxtaposes global trauma, World War I, colonial Africa, prohibition, the Great Depression, with personal battles. It's not just a Western. It's a portrait of a family battered by the tides of history. Ending it here would feel premature, like closing the book before the last page. Yet there's beauty in ambiguity. What if Sheridan wants us to wonder? What if the silence after 1923 is intentional, a narrative breath held between punches? Maybe we're supposed to sit with the ache, the unknowing, just like the Duttons do. They never get peace. Why should we? Still, the idea that Yellowstone is over after 1923 feels too final, too neat. In the real world, legacies don't die with one man's story. They fade, resurge, change hands. They become legend. If 1923 is the last we see of the Dutton ancestors, then it's a brutal, beautiful closing chapter. But more likely, it's the middle. The aching, blood-soaked middle that sets the stage for whatever Sheridan has planned next. Could we see a 1944? A 1963? A Vietnam-era Dutton caught between the Old West and modern America? Imagine a young John Dutton navigating the changing West, battling not with guns, but with policies, development deals, and environmental laws. The threats evolve, but the fight remains the same.